So I finally have beef with Hassan, but not for the reason I think many people want or think. As of writing, I am around 8,000 subscribers away from 1 million subscribers, and it is still unreal, still really cool. Some cool stuff planned. Yes, that video, but that's not the topic right now. As I've grown, I've noticed something. My viewers and subscribers have indicated to me that they are much wider than they used to be just a couple of years ago. And I've also come to accept that there's probably nothing I can do to stop it. There was a time when I looked at my viewers also watch tab in the analytics for YouTube apps. It's hard to explain, but there's ways for us to understand like what other creators are connected to us. And years ago, when I looked to see who those creators were, it was Khadijah Mbo and Sean C and Foreign Man in Foreign Land, etc. But in the last couple of years, this tab has gotten much, much wider. So some of these new white faces make sense, such as Anthony Fantano and Hassan, people I've collaborated with and talked with on a couple of occasions. But then there's some more news who I've never collaborated with, and I don't know if I've ever mentioned, along with Sam Cedar. Philosophy Tube makes some sense because we are in the same genre and she's a GOAT in the space. But then there's two more Hassan channels. The only black folks I have left are my evil twin Lil Bill, Company Man, and Deleted, much smaller channels than I am. Now, obviously, I'm not actually really mad at Hassan for this, but it is indicative of a bigger challenge that he and other white creators kind of make for black creators on this platform that they low-key don't control. So like, please, if you actually clicked for Hassan slander, there you go. You can go ahead and leave. The problem is that as you become successful, it's probably natural that your channel begins to look like other successful channels in your general genre and topic area. In isolation, this isn't a huge deal. I've seen people take shots at me for this, but I really don't take those criticisms seriously. If you actually watch my content, which most of my critics don't, you can't point out that I'm pandering to attain this audience or take issue with the position I actually hold, as opposed to like a random position that you think I hold based on some tweets some other time. No, I bring this up again later, but I just make a product on this platform that is able to garner a large audience. And when I do make political videos about black issues, aside from some comedy skits you might get from the homie Eye Patch Wolf, I make them as if all the folks watching are black people. I make them as if people have a significant understanding of baseline black consciousness already in tow. There are so many inside jokes and inside elements to my videos that only black people will get, and they'll tell you about it in the comments. So the whole he makes videos of white people thing just doesn't resonate for me. My videos on black conservatism, Spike Lee's Bamboozled, and most recently Hotep's and black radicalism are all videos that I'm very proud of that also have large black audiences. But I can't say that I'm frustrated that other videos I've made about black issues don't always find the black audience that I've been seeking out that I used to have once upon a time. To point out the difference, the second black conservatives video I did back in 2023, along with my Bamboozled video from the beginning of 2024, both have some of my strongest showings of black viewers, especially the black conservatives video, which up until the Kendrick Drake beef video was my most watched video ever. I was super proud that this video managed to find the black audience that I wanted to see it the most. And one of the ways I knew this was by looking at the comments, but more interestingly, looking at what other videos are suggesting this video, i.e. what other audiences this video is connected to. And that's where things get a little ugly and weird and indicate some sad realities around black political thought, at least on YouTube, but probably in general. So follow me for a second for some light analysis on like what the data in my videos tells me about the audience and how all of us can learn some important things from that. So when it comes to what videos are suggesting these videos the most, it's almost always my other videos. That's a thing that happens to a lot of other bigger channels. It's something that the algorithm is designed to do. And your channel's gonna be really healthy when this is happening to your videos. If you watch one of my videos and you're brand new to my channel, YouTube knows to send you more of my videos and that you'll probably watch them too, which is good for my channel overall. So that part's pretty straightforward. The other videos you'll see are again videos from larger white lefty channels, Hassan, Big Joe, Philosophy Tube, etc. But then with my black videos, I start seeing other black political content that I have to say, I don't think is very good. Some of it is fine. There's like this video of an old news piece on James Baldwin that for whatever reason has over 3.5 million views on a small channel 3 years ago. There's another short video from Fred Hampton from around the same time. These are fine. Considering the topic areas, it makes sense that viewers of these videos would also watch my video and vice versa, and YouTube's algorithm is doing a good job of making this logical connection. Cool. But then there's what I'm gonna call Hotep slop channels, one of which will be the only channel I mention by name as I get more and more shady going on. So just, you know, if you're looking for drama, you're not gonna find it here. There's this channel called Black Culture Unlocked, and it clearly is mostly AI generated slop. Like when you look at the channel, you can kind of tell the thumbnails all use that drama slop technique in terms of like what they look like. Other thumbnails are using clear, bad AI art. They really love the phrase hidden truth. Like it's on every third thumbnail on their channel. And then the content itself is Hotep core, although it's almost always an AI generated voice. I don't know what voice is real on this channel. It's clearly like they're regurgitating old shit a lot of times. They're coming out with a new video every couple of days, maybe a couple of months. This is a content farm, but it's about black politics. And as far as I can tell, it's doing pretty well for itself, which is sad. It has this weird tragedy porn element to it. Like when you look at the AI thumbnails, like a third of them are of black people crying and making painful faces. But it's getting an audience, not a huge audience. Like people don't come back for these videos, but each time it makes one of these videos, it's making an attempt to penetrate the algorithm and get people to click. And sometimes it does. This channel makes me think about what black political content, at least on YouTube, used to be back in previous eras. As I mentioned in that Black Radicalism Hotep video, guys like Tariq Nasheed, Umar Johnson, and Boyce Watkins were really popular in black political spaces for a time and had large followings, not necessarily on YouTube, but at least on Instagram and Facebook. You also have less problematic figures like Tavis Smiley and Roland Martin, who have presences in a variety of venues. Roland Martin, I do think, has millions of subscribers, but his videos don't do big numbers all the time, but I'm sure he's doing fine. Mark Lamont Hill might be in this category, although his channel is relatively new. And in many ways, the Black Manosphere content of an earlier era also served as a early version of political discourse for black political content consumers, although you could imagine that a lot of it is limited when it comes to having anything substantive to say about politics. It usually boils down to, here's this really bad social issue, and here's some weird nonsensical way that it's black women's fault. Having been around during this era and still knowing some of these people and the folks who consume their content, this whole world, this Hotep core content space is still alive and kicking on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook. But early on, YouTube made it inhospitable to have this type of content on their platform. But that doesn't mean there aren't a lot of small black politics channels that still make similar stuff. Not all of it is AI slop, but a lot of it is just not very good, and most of it has really bad, even worse politics. But one thing I will point out is that despite the fact that it will be good for my channel, I don't want the people that watch this shit to watch my shit. Like, the people that are watching this stuff are old Gen X weirdos and anti-fans and like maybe some younger ones who also can be stalker adjacent and toxic as fuck. Basically black debate bro type people, if you will. I mentioned in that video that like I've gotten low-key stalkers that are fans of this type of content because these niggas don't have nothing else to do, and they will be in every video, 55 comments down, talking shit, doing all kinds of weird stuff. So the less contact my channel has with theirs, the better overall. I don't need these problems. But there is a more important population that I kind of want access to, also in this list of black people videos that also watch my videos. The problem is I have to figure out how to get them, and I kind of don't feel good about what that might mean. So along with the Hotep core content, right, you'll see what I call niggas can't get right content. This is content often done by people I won't outright call black conservative grifters, because some of them I don't think are, but some of them definitely are. They're also often made by younger black people, and that's why I'm trying to give grace, because I do think a lot of these young folks just feel apart from what black media often promotes as blackness back to them. They are embarrassed and angry about how black people are depicted, and they don't like how they're treated and perceived. So they're slowly encroaching into Candace Owens, Thomas Sowell areas of thinking where they lash out explicitly at black people and black culture as the core of black people's problems, and not the bigger systemic stuff that they're low-key scared or maybe don't even understand that they need to talk about. So instead they make videos complaining about Sexy Red and balloon pop videos. It's real, I'm not like other black people, I'm one of the good ones type energy, right? Like I guarantee that most of them are suburban black kids who have had to face the consequences of these types of stereotypes regularly in their daily lives in ways that are maybe unfamiliar to other black folks who grew up in black communities, and they have become very bitter about this. I've touched on this in a few pieces of content, including the aforementioned Bamboozled video if you want to watch. I can't remember where I got the phrase flying the milk from, but I often call it the flying the milk experience because to me, that's often what produces this sentiment. When you are the only black child surrounded by other white children, that can be a very traumatic and like self-deluding experience that produces a lot of self-hatred that if you aren't around other black people, it's hard to get rid of. And then when you get around other black people, they smell that on you. They low-key don't want you around because they smell the anti-blackness. It's really a lose-lose situation for them, which is why I try to hold space, because I also feel like a lot of these people, again, the ones who are young, can make it out of that space if given the right resources and opportunity. However, the success of these videos amongst what I assume is a black audience is kind of concerning, and the problem with this ideology. We don't and have never been in control of our own images, and for generations now, certain images of black culture have always been the most prominently promoted, partly because they're the most rewarded. And then for young black people especially who don't really have a good lens for political analysis and understanding how these things work, it's easier for them to lash out at other black people who are touchable and directly in their faces than to lash out at the larger, more prominent system of white supremacy that influences this behavior. But I won't get too far into that. Pillboy, I'll leave a video of his in the description that really gets into this. All that said, while I find it concerning and frustrating that this is who I share parts of my black audience with, it's probably a good thing that they might be exposed to the opposite of what this content suggests. I don't want this video to have people think that there's an absence of black content creators or black people watching YouTube content. That's just not true. There's just not a huge breadth of black political content creators, at least not ones at a higher level. But there's plenty of black people with large channels doing other types of content. Just the other day, I rediscovered a creator named Corporate, who I remember blowing up on Facebook probably in the late 2010s, that's from Chicago. Corporate makes comedic and dramatic hood stories as well as independent music in Chicago, and he has over 2.7 million subscribers and releases 30-minute long videos, which is not short, every few months that all do pretty well. There's also a ton of streamers posting their highlights on YouTube and getting plenty of views. Then there's the world of hair and skincare for black women creators, and that remains robust, and I think black women political creators have a lot less of a problem than, black male creators, to be honest. Black media consumption is a unique thing, and it can't be easily predicted or explained all the time, but I do think there's some interesting stuff to think about or learn from, at least what I'm seeing based on my own analytics, which again, may not be the same for you. So the first lesson I want other black creators to take away is don't beat yourself up about missing a black audience. If you are successful on this platform, if you have a large audience on this platform and you're not doing certain genres, you're probably going to get a large white audience in the process. There's certain genres and styles of media that are popular with black people and white people. If you're successful, the sheer mathematics of it all means you will probably have a predominantly white audience. Shows like Atlanta and The Wire and Insecure are very much black shows that don't do a whole lot to pander to a white audience the same way something like, Blackish did.
This system has never worked for us. But we still play ball.
Most successful rappers have predominantly white audiences. Kendrick Lamar's music is inherently black, yet his audience is becoming more and more white by the day because of his success and exposure. And please understand, for those of you who have been fans for a while, he's always had a large white audience. There's some people with weird opinions who think this makes him a white people rapper, and I side-eye that because I've never heard someone describe NBA YoungBoy as a white people rapper or Lil Yachty as a white people rapper, even though their audiences are probably even more white than Kendrick Lamar's. This particular criticism, you have a white audience, so you're invalid, is probably saying more about the person making that criticism than the person being criticized. Another thing to point out is that there's also just a smaller pool of black political content consumers. This is not to say that black people aren't politically inclined. We're probably more politically inclined than anyone in this country, but consuming politics as entertainment is a whole other organism than being politically inclined. For a lot of black people, politics is painful. It's not something we passively engage with because the subject matter is often like literally us in our reality. To a white viewer, a video about black radical movements from the 60s to now is a passive history lesson that they can view from a distance. To me, it's low-key family lore. Making that Hotep video meant engaging with patterns of trauma in my past and barriers to success in my future and my children's future. Considering that a lot of people watch YouTube videos while they're cooking or on the toilet, they might not want to engage with such heavy material. So it makes sense. And this isn't uniquely black. Most people in America are not overly engaged in politics. Our political reality should tell you that. Hassan will never do Mr. Beast numbers, but neither will Ben Shapiro or Tucker Carlson for this reason. So no matter what your politics is, a lot of people want to keep politics out because they don't want to deal with the heaviness and reality that politics present to them. I don't think it's a coincidence that the #1 consumers of political content are straight white men, probably by a disproportionate margin, and this is on either side of the political aisle, because at the end of the day, they're never really the subject of what's being discussed in a political piece, so they get to engage with it passively from a distance, and remember that for a few moments from now. All this said though, I don't want to make this full of excuses. A lot of us black political content creators are not doing enough to meet folks where they are, folks as in our folks. Yes, overall YouTube as a platform doesn't cater to black people, and yes, the population of black consumers is small by comparison, but if the goal is to spread certain ideas and promote certain political action, we need to get out of our comfort zone more than we are. Either that means doing what is this line? Either that means doing like I tried to do. Fuck, what was I writing? B-sides videos. You can tell sometimes I wrote these in a short period of time. You might think you're gonna like make the dopest political treatise on racism or capitalism or whatever, but if it's just like hardcore, like reading quotes from a book and stuff, it's not gonna get attention from the people that you really want to read it the most. You probably do need to spend some time doing good old media analysis and kind of weave things in. That's why I'm really proud of my Black Panther video where I'm bringing up Pan-Africanism in a movie that low-key is anti-Pan-Africanism. Long-form video essays aren't for most people, let alone black folks. So I've also been trying to do more shorts. I started the podcast and I'm even getting to streaming on Twitch. Look out for that in the description. I'm even thinking about putting my videos on Tubi. That may sound like pandering or dumbing things down, but if you think that, you're probably an asshole who shouldn't be taken seriously. Going back to the Boyce Watkins type folks, for them, consuming political content was low-key a flex, like developing a flex they could have on other people to show that they knew more about what was going on than others. It was what like the negative connotation woke would be. You know, it's how we again got that term Hotep. It was people that weren't digging into political ideology for reasons that were other than self-gain. And don't get me wrong, I get that appeal, but if that's all you're here for, that's low-key why I'm not doing as much political content as I used to. But when I do political content, not fun and games videos, like I'm always gonna do hip hop videos, I got anime videos, etc. But when I do political videos, it's for the purpose of spreading certain ideas, and it can't just be regurgitating them back to an audience that already knows them. So no, if I put video essays on Tubi, that's not dumbing it down, that's putting it in the presence of the people that I want to see it the most. And God willing, if there's success capturing the attention of folks off Tubi or podcast short or live stream hot take, then maybe they'll sit down for the longer video essay. And then if they watch that, maybe they'll go steps further, do some independent reading, go to a meeting, organize an event. The goal isn't just making content for content's sake. I will always do that because I love making videos, but there's more to it than that. Now, remember when I said earlier that white people, especially white men, can pretty easily engage in political content because they're never the subject of it? Well, what if I told you that I'm working on something that changes this, at least for a moment? Last year, I did multiple interviews with white creators on YouTube with their whiteness actually being the point of the conversation. It's called Talking to White People, and for once, it centers whiteness specifically as the topic of discussion instead of it always being about some other group, as if whiteness doesn't have really important, significant things for us to critically think about. This video has been getting rave reviews to the point where I've gotten a lot of messages asking me to put it on YouTube so that everyone can see it and there can be some wide discussions in the comments and all of that. But unfortunately for the foreseeable future, that's not going to happen. You'll only be able to see this video on my streaming service, Nebula. Some of you might know Nebula as a streaming service where some of YouTube's best creators have unfiltered content. But recently, Nebula has been focused on seeing exactly what all these talented creators can do when they have more resources and support. And thus, Nebula has went from being just a YouTube-driven streaming service to an independent production company. And along with my new project, Talking to White People, we also have full documentaries from Tom Nicholas, where he examines the baby boomer generation, how they're low-key ruining the world. We have short films from Jesse Gender and Philosophy Tube, reality shows with a bevy of creators, travel shows, narrative podcasts, as well as a ton of content from big creators like Lindsay Ellis, Jacob Geller, and Real Life Lore that can't be found anywhere on YouTube. We're talking thousands of hours of content that only exists there. And Talking to White People is included in that, but it's also just the beginnings, hopefully, of a bigger project that I have planned out. This is not the end of what I think this concept could be, but I need people to see it and get excited for it and engage with what I've made thus far, which means that I need you to sign up for Nebula to go watch it. Because Nebula is independent, we're not partnering with Google or some other big tech company. We are not ran or owned by venture capitalists or NFT weirdos. We come directly to you all for support. We only make money when you click the link in the description and sign up or follow the QR code on the screen. By signing up today, it helps me in general, but it also shows support for projects I'm trying to line up and that every other creator there is trying to do. So please support me by signing up today. Thank you so much to Nebula for sponsoring the video. Thank you to watching to this point. I'm FD Signifier, and this has been Light Work.